I like the music.
It's fantastic.
Is it loud? Extremely loud?
No, it's not at all.
All right. The first episode. And this will go up live on YouTube right now. And
Oh, yeah, it's live instantly.
Live on YouTube and archived as well. So we'll try to stop the music. We'll try to do this. And yeah, we'll just basically ramble on about NHL stuff.
Shoot the stuff about NHL16.
NHL16.
Or just EA Sports in general.
And what's the release date? September, what is it? September the 10th this year?
September 9th, maybe.
September the something? It's like a couple of weeks after Madden comes out normally.
Probably should have verified that before the podcast.
Yeah, that's all right. We can always look it up as we're going. Let's see. But what do I'm most obviously looking forward for EA SHL to come back. I think that's what most people are looking forward to coming back. That's definitely the game mode that I've played the most.
That's the draw for most people.
08, 09. Well, I don't know. I mean, Hut really gets a big draw, even though I've kind of had a love-hate relationship with Hut. Hut makes them a ton of money. I saw I want to think it was maybe Madden 25, which was last year's Madden.
Right.
It did $300 million. I'm throwing this out there. This is roughly what I read, that it did $300 million sales just for the game. And then I'm wanting to think that I saw a stat where it did roughly $50 million in just microtransactions, Hut stuff, people buying packs.
Okay, so that's why they went the Hut route this year.
Oh,
At least
yeah.
they had the Hut this year for that reason.
Yeah,
to make money still.
Yeah, they're going to push that.
But I mean, you look at what was drawing people in the game before was for the EASHL. I didn't, it seemed like there was a big enough community, but like the VHL guys for like the Xbox 360 or the PlayStation, it just seems like all the people that sold their systems that were planning on playing, to continue the VHL in their teams or whatever leagues they were in, just kind of got sideswiped with the whole decision to not put it in the game.
Right.
And then now they're all kind of waiting for it to happen. So as soon as it happens, it's just going to be an influx of people just coming back to the game and just.
No, it's kind of odd that.
Well, I just loaded the game up right now, and I'm about to play an OTP game, and there is 320 people playing OTP.
Playing OTP,
compared to like when it's before, like you go through the leaderboards, there's like compared to like Xbox or PlayStation or whatever, it's like 50,000 people like on the leaderboards,
right?
And they're playing all the time. And there's club games, and you never get the same club game over again. But if that was like 340 people or 350 people just playing club games, you'd be playing the same people over and over again,
right?
Unless people come back.
I think that's a big. To me, it's kind of a big thing. I wonder if they saw a big drop off this past year, not NHL 15, obviously because we didn't have EASHL or our created players this year, but in NHL 14, I have to assume that they made quite a bit of money with some of the boost slots, some of that kind of stuff, the +7s that people, if it was complete 2 seasons of your Be a Pro mode, your Be a Pro career, I never really played that much Be a Pro. I never really cared about it. So most of the +3s and +5s or whatever, I would unlock myself. And then the ones that I was never going to do, which was like, become a legend in GM mode or whatever. I'm not ever going to do that.
Well,
so
yeah, with that pass they had beforehand, like you would, or the 3-day or whatever, the early release.
Right, the season.
By the time the game would come out, you already had your +5s and +3s and like whatever ones you needed, you just bought.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So it was like an instant $20 everybody would spend on the game, but that doesn't compare to what they get for Hut. So
right.
That was the reason behind it. I understand that. It's just the game wasn't ready for SHL. It just kind of sucks that was the situation.
I think it was just compacted upon when the PlayStation first came out, when the PS4 first came out, and Madden and FIFA both ported their PS3 versions over to PS4, and Granted, they weren't great, but at least it gave people that were going to next gen something to look forward to. And the NHL community was kind of put off, and they kind of came out and said, we're not going to port it over because obviously the PS4 came out in November, and we had only had the PS3 version for not even 2 months. And they didn't port it over, and they told us they were going to wait an entire year to develop the next gen one. And then when we got the next gen one, which was NHL15, it was so stripped down with a lot of the obviously no club, no ESHL. I think a lot of people, because we heard they were going to wait for an entire year to put it out, we expected a lot, and we, really didn't get a lot. We
got a terrible update.
Yeah,
it came later, and it's just OTP that is just so buggy.
Oh yeah,
and unplayable. Like, I'm trying to join a room right now, and the room just keeps more and more people just join in and just kind of leave, and now I'm just kind of hanging in the balance. There's 36 seconds before the game starts, but I'd be surprised if 4 people play this game.
Now, supposedly, I guess this year for EASHL, for club, OTP will be the same exact for NHL16 that it is for 15. It will be NHL rosters. It's not your created player. So all of us that used to spend time in drop games, getting games played for our player and stuff, that won't happen anymore. You can't use your...
That's only through club, you're saying. So, like, you can only upgrade your guy through club.
Through club games, that's correct. You can't do it in drop OTP games anymore. It's strictly club.
Well, that's kind of how they did it in FIFA, right? But you still have you still have your pro, but I guess for the OTP stuff or whatever, in FIFA.
Well, in FIFA 15, you can get your attributes and stuff up, because obviously FIFA, the way that they do their player progression is much different than NHL. So you can still rank up, as far as getting games played and stats, your online player on FIFA, both club and drop games. So it still does work on FIFA. But the player mechanics and the player progression is so much different. I really wished NHL went to the same style that FIFA does. It's a lot more detailed. There's a lot more to it than just the NHL. But what is kind of weird, them making it where you can only progress your player through club games, as I know that they have said that each position you're going to have, you're not necessarily going to have the attribute points like we've had in the past, where you gain so many points to go and add to wrist shot accuracy or slap shot power. It's going to be a specific build that you choose for whatever position. Basically,
and this is all you're saying, because this is all confirmed.
This is all news. Yes, this is all out there on their website that that you will have specific builds for. What I assume it is say, for instance, in NHL 14, when you created a player, if you wanted to be a right wing and then you wanted to be a sniper, well, it gave you a starting point of your attributes, and then you gain points to add to that. So you had sniper, you had a grinder, you had two-way forward, you had what else? You had playmaker, all of those, and they had a certain starting point to where they were at. From what I gather, it's basically going to be the same way, even though they're a little closer together. There's not so much variance in the different player styles, and you basically choose, when you go into a club game, if the center is the power forward, and if the left wing is the playmaker and the right wing is the sniper, you just pick that style for that player. And as far as the attributes, you really don't have any adjustment within the attributes. From what I gather, that's the way it sounds that it's going to be. So, I mean, I guess, and from what I gather, what they're saying, a lot of that is, and kind of going back to what you were saying before, is there are some hardcore people like us that are going to play the game every night, get games in, and you would be up to your legend card. If you remember when they used to have the early access, the season ticket, and they had the 3 days, we would almost be at Legend 1 before the game even came out. In 3 days, we would get there. We would be a Superstar 3 in no time.
Superstar. At least a Superstar 1.
Right. And
I mean, even just getting the veteran gives you an advantage for, close to, by the time you're Legend 3, that whole entire month, you're pretty much dominating the game. And then everybody just kind of like eventually just catches up and it's
everybody,
more competitive. But until then,
exactly. Until then, the people that have gotten the early access put in the time and a little bit of money, getting some of the +7s that they normally wouldn't get when the game would first come out. And you would go into drop games. You would look like Gretzky out there in junior high. You just destroy.
And I wish that was the case now because I'm currently playing an OTP match where I'm right wing and there's 7 right wings. There's not that many guys on the ice. Everybody's just playing on my side. I'm just skating back and forth and just passing the puck up and down the boards to my right defenseman, who's usually in front of me half the time.
I think that's part of why they're doing the fixed playing styles for the players, is to make it where, from what they've said, and a pretty even playing field throughout the entire EASHL, with a big emphasis on team play, communication, playing style, communicating, cycling, setting up, staying in your position, that kind of stuff is supposed to yield better chances of winning instead of, like what you deal with basically in OTP most of the time, which is people running around all over the place and doing whatever and dealing with that one left defenseman that doesn't want to pass and skate up the ice the whole game, stuff like that. So if that's what they're trying to accomplish, I'm fine with that. We've talked a lot about how they could ever combat against that, especially with people quitting games, quitting an OTP.
I think that the way they used to have the ranking of, what was it, not your discipline, but your team play, there needs to be some sort of like penalty for if your team play drops to a certain amount. Like if you're like a defenseman and you're just playing in the offensive zone the whole time, not that that's a bad thing. I mean, some teams play that way, but like you're just totally messing up your team play because your team is just kind of playing the way they're supposed to play if they're going to follow your little arrows or whatever. And then you got a guy who's just not doing the things everybody else is doing to help out the team. Maybe that kind of like puts into a point system, and within that point system, it pairs those people up together. Like later on, like after a while, you'll have like a B or an A- or whatever, but you get paired with people who have those ratings, so you get better. I don't know. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no.
Like that. That's the way it should be. Like it might take a little while for that to come to fruition, but because of how many games you'd have to play, but after a while it would just kind of balance itself out, where you just play with players that only had B+ or higher, or you could set it to where if you're searching for a game or something like that, like you could search for team play B+ or higher, or A- only, or something like that, and then you could just play with those players that actually have the ability to actually work with you and not. I'm sure you'll have your dipshits, and it's not like we don't do that every once in a while too, just to troll people. But
I've always said I don't know how it would ever go over, but especially for OTP, for drop games, people that get in and just drop out of the game for whatever reason, or even club games for that matter. I don't know how well it would ever go over, because I have consistently, from very early on, I don't quit games, even if it's a blowout or if we're, destroying a team. Just quitting never made any sense to me. The only time I'd ever quit is back in the day when we would play club. If we were on doing a 2-man drop game and the rest of our club got on, we might drop to go to the club room to get ready to play club games. But
Speaking of club games, I mean, what was it? 2011 was the last year they had the 7 rooms or whatever it was.
Multiple locker rooms where you could do multiple drops.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that wish they would bring back the multiple drop. And we'll talk about that. I'm sure there's some more that we could talk about that. What I was going to say is I don't know if there's an ability within drop or club to the people that just quit games. There are people that just by their PSN or the Xbox Live name, people that are not going to finish a game. As soon as you score them, they're going to back out. When you did have that player progression to Legend 3, I always thought it would be interesting if you don't maintain that A- overall and you lose your Legend 3, you should lose it. In the games past, once you got to Legend 3,
it drops your rankings down. It should be like a I see what you're saying. It's kind of like I guess how they do it in like not the versus mode, but the regular mode, where certain players, if they're having like a crappy week or a crappy month or whatever, it drops the ratings down in the game, the actual game itself.
Right.
It's kind of cool.
That's been my thought, if you're going to consistently drop out of games, because like I said, when you got to Legend 3, you got your A-. It didn't matter if you quit games or not. It didn't affect your player at all. So people would do it just, for whatever, just be assholes. But if you made something to punish them for doing that, and obviously people are going to say, well, what if you lag out of a game? What if you disconnect? When you disconnect or you lag out, your system knows that happens. So does the PSN account. There's a command within quitting a game. You hit a start button, you go down, you hit X to exit, you hit X to quit out of the game. That's a command. It knows that you did that. That's a big difference than lagging out of a game. So it could tell, and if you quit out of games and you lose your A-, then you lose your Legend 3, and you lose those points that you've used to build the attributes up. I think it would keep people from quitting games, at least the people that have their Legend.
Right.
Now, like you said, you're still going to have idiots that are going to make accounts just to get into games, to troll or whatever. It's not going to affect them because they don't care if their guy's
that's just
terrible or
and
not.
That's a lot. That's
going to be goalies a lot as well that do that.
A lot of work. Well, yeah, goalies that are going to just make accounts just for their friends to come in and just light them up so they can get their Legend cards a lot easier.
Right.
They'll have those OTP. Well, that was actually a pretty big deal too, but maybe that's one of the reasons why they're not doing the OTP with your player progression. Is because people would do that.
Right.
They would boost their players. They would just have some random guy with a bunk account.
Skate out.
Just go in there and play goalie, and then let just people just come in and just. I'm sorry. I'm in the middle of a game right now, and my defenseman is just all the way in front of me. And I don't even know. I'm quitting. I'm sorry.
No, but you're saying they would just be a goalie and skate out of the net and let their buddy
and exactly. And that would help them out with their attributes. And like what a lot of teams people were doing was they only had to play 60 seconds for it to count as one game or something like that. Yeah. So go in there, you put as many points up as possible. The entire team would touch the puck at least once.
Right.
No bad checks, no stupid penalties. Just everybody just either just touch the puck, or one guy, they would win the face-off, the center would win the face-off, and then he would shoot and score, and then that was over. But if the center didn't win the face-off and you quit before that, the guy would get like a C+. But whatever. Right. Everybody had to make sure that everybody had A+ before they left.
And this is not news to anybody. Anybody that's heard of it. So
they did that.
Everybody
just to be able to boost their legend cards. That was just obvious, legend card boosting.
Right.
And
everybody has.
But that was just taking advantage of the game and what they were allowing you to do. So, maybe that was one of the reasons why they're not going to have the OTP 1, OTP 2, and 3, or whatever. Just private lobbies.
You always have those things. I think anybody that's played this game from early on, as far as on PS3 and PS4.
But the only issue with that is
there's always been glitches and ways to cheat the game. Everybody knows it.
But that would only last for so long because everybody would have their Legend 3 cards regardless after a while anyway.
Right.
And then it was irrelevant. And now you'd have that's where the VHL guys made their living. Like, these guys set up these websites. There was their full-time jobs. I mean, it still is. These guys are still doing it on PS3, and they have major people advertise on their websites to be able to come play in their leagues and both systems or whatever. So, but they took advantage of that OTP 1, 2, and 3, or they would set up private lobbies. Like, let's say you're playing, you're the Flyers, and the Flyers are playing Nashville that night.
Right.
Bam, you have a lobby open be there at whatever time your game's supposed to be at. You get there. That was fun. I mean, that was like that was it was something different. It was going away from the EASHL part of it.
Right.
And it was kind of stepping into like, all right, well, we can make our own EASHL.
Right.
Right. So maybe that was one of the reasons too why NHL was like, well, we don't want to have that anymore. We want it to be solely we make it, you guys. So maybe they should do something like that. They should incorporate like a VHL type deal with.
Yeah, they've definitely taken notice. They've definitely taken notice of it.
Because that actually because after a while, everybody's just kind of like, I don't want to play like some randoms anymore. I'd rather play like I want to be in a league. I want to be a part of a team, but I want my player to be on that team and feel like I'm actually with a group of people and actually have some sort of which is essentially what it is, but you're playing against EASHL teams and it's just some random team like whatever team name it is, whatever the Schmucks versus the Rapid City Riot or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I did a couple of the VGHLs and some of that back when they first started, and yeah, it definitely adds a different element to the game.
Yeah, it's cool because you have like they keep track of the roster.
You're playing with people that you wouldn't normally play with.
You have your minor league team and with the NHL team, and like you could have a call up. You could be like, all right, dude, my right defenseman can't play tonight. He's got to take his wife out to dinner for her birthday. I need a right defenseman. I looked at your stats this past week. You're +5, blah, blah, this and that. You're a really good player. We're going to call you up and give you a 1-day contract.
And they even had I know the PlayStation guys did, and I think they did it cross-platform for Xbox as well. But there were some guys, I wish I could remember. It's been years since I've listened to it, like 3 years ago. But they actually had a radio show that they did as well.
Still do.
Yeah, where they would do the radio show and you could call in and they would talk about the games that went on that night because the VGHL or the VHL were setting up games on specific nights. So they would run down the scores, just like the NHL. They would run down the player stats. They would have people call in, like somebody, if you were playing on a team and you had a hat trick that night, you would call in and talk to them live on air.
Yeah, you got the player of the night and stuff.
It added a realism factor to the game.
Yeah, it made you feel like you're actually part of like the NHL. Like, not realistically, but I mean, you know what you're doing. But it's neat, and I'd like to see how they're going to adjust when this whole setup is going to be just EASHL clubs.
Right.
I'm sure they'll figure out a way. I'm sure, like once you get promoted to a team, if you're serious about it, they're going to say like, look, the only way for you to do this is to be able to play EASHL, and you have to commit to the club.
Right.
You want to be a part of this, and if you don't, you get suspended or disbanded, and you have to take off. And I'm sure eventually it'll, people they'll just figure out who's into it, who's not. But yeah, it's gonna be kind of cool. I mean, I would totally be into like I'd like to play the club for a while, and then maybe after a while when it gets boring, maybe do one of those VHL leagues. Submit your player card or whatever, and try to get drafted to a team.
And there's a lot of things that have happened since that as well. I mean, now obviously with next gen with PS4 and Xbox, I play on the PS4 side, so now you have PS Live where they can you can obviously stream the games if you can stream live, so people that aren't even playing can watch these games, like we're doing now.
Like it's in the playoffs, like playoffs come along and like. You got your first team going out for the first playoff game, and they want to watch that. The second team wants to watch that, and then the next night, the second team comes out, and then your fourth line, or the third line, and then the fourth line comes out.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the broadcasting the games aspect of it, as far as being able to do interactive live stuff like we're doing here, Hangout podcast, or streaming it on the PlayStation or on YouTube Live, it's going to add a different element that we haven't had yet. Since that time when they were doing all the VGHL and VHL stuff, so that'll be really interesting.
I love it.
Yeah,
I think it's I think the whole new the new systems in the whole. I'm 37, you're 38. It's not like we haven't adapted to the technology. It's just from what we grew up with to what it's at. What it's at now.
It's crazy to see how far it's
It's amazing how much is advanced.
Like we were saying last night, multiplayer used to consist of me and my buddy sitting on the couch beside each other. Now you play with people.
Sitting in my buddy Derek's basement. We'd have a big board up. There'd be 10 of us. We all pick our own team. You write your name on the board.
Now, did you have to pick your team?
That was you draw your name out of or you draw a number out of a hat, and then whenever
whoever picked their team. Yeah,
and that was your Tecmo Bowl team.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Same with remember the game, the regular ice hockey game.
Right.
We would do it with that, where you had the small guy, the medium guy, the fat guy.
Right.
And then you had double dribble. We used to do it with double dribble.
Oh yeah, all of those games for sure.
Yep. But then we're a little bit pure, like what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah, well, I was going to say back to what you were getting at as well with the locker rooms. That's something that I think I don't think it like really hurt NHL, but it definitely was neat to have a club where you had a lot of people within the club. It started to get a little, I wouldn't say drama, but it started to have its conflicting parts when you couldn't have multiple rooms going on. When we played club together early on, and you could have a 5 or a 6 man team jump into a game, and as soon as they started, the next guys could jump into the locker room and start another game. So you're playing multiple club games for the same club,
right
beside each other. And then once they took that out, if you've got 7 guys on and 5 or 6 guys are playing, and that one guy can't play, then how long?
Or 2 guys join the lobby late and they get butthurt that they're not playing, and they're just like, let's go play our own game. And then
let's start our own club. That happens. That's happened with everybody. So that's kind of a sour part of the game that I wish they wouldn't have taken out. But maybe they'll add that back. They're doing a lot to listen to the community with the question and answering that they're doing on there.
Then there's also the really, really serious clubs that actually have like weekly practices or daily practices they have to be at with their club, and then they have it's a pecking order,
right?
And they definitely have to be able to compete. They have to, I guess it's almost like having a contract. You have to play to you have to play to a certain level to be able to keep your record up there in the top 15 or top 10.
Right.
So you can play in those all special playoffs.
Whatever. That's something that I'm interested to see as well. I know that people have talked to Sean Ramjansing, who is the producer for EA NHL, and they've asked about what they're doing as far as monthly championships, that kind of stuff. I wish they would go back to something like they did in 2009 when we had the riot.
Bring back the dangle, you're saying? Is that what
no.
I'm
saying
I'm just joking. I just want to throw that out there. Bring the dangler back.
For instance, in 2009, we started playing together in team play, which was in 2008. But when they brought EASHL in 2009 in the club, and we played, you didn't have monthly tournaments. It was at the end of the year, the teams that accumulated the most points. For anybody that didn't play then, in NHL 09, you accumulated points for wins, and there was a leaderboard of all the clubs. They weren't broken up into amateur clubs or any of that. It was just all the clubs were in one leaderboard, and as you accumulated wins, you moved up the ranks. Well, they decided to have a contest the first year, and the top 8 teams from PlayStation and the top 8 teams from Xbox had a playoff at the end of the year. And whichever team won from those playoffs, they flew them. It was the Regulators won for PlayStation, and I'm trying to remember who won for Xbox. It was either the Purple Cobras or the White Church. I can't remember. It was one of those teams. But anyways, the Xbox guys destroyed the PlayStation guys, beat them 4 games straight. But they flew all of them out to check out NHL 10. They got, all kinds of stuff, and which was really neat. And our team, the Rapid City Riot, we finished 5th on the PS3. So we got to, be a part of all the playoffs, which was really neat. But it gave you something to play for. Now, granted, you had to be on there every night playing, or teams were going to pass you. So it was playing several games every night for months and months to get in that top 8. Mm. But it gave you something to play for. As far as playing now, and you win the end of the month and you get a little trophy in your trophy case, I don't know if that's really. I think there's probably
it's pretty sweet until your girlfriend's packing up her bags and she's leaving because you played too much hockey.
What's that? What were you saying now?
I said it's pretty sweet until your girlfriend's packing all her bags up. She's like, I'm
Right,
out.
right. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You play too much hockey.
But I don't know. I don't know what they could do to acknowledge the teams. I mean, they had the whole little banner presentation at the beginning of games, but that hurt as well because you could quit out of a club game and it didn't count as a loss. And how many times did we go in there and we would be elite champions and some team come in and see them raising the elite banner, and before the game even starts, they're gone. They're not going to play.
Quit. They got they have however many seconds to quit, so that the game
Right.
doesn't count.
So I think that hurts. That part of it as well. I don't know what to do. But I'm sure they'll do something.
I don't know. I think every year they made the right. At least until this year, everything seemed to go pretty well. I mean, even though the past 2 seasons on the regular PlayStation 3 are just carbon copies of each other.
Right.
It's just different rosters, at least for the versus mode and the.
I hope we get. No, go ahead.
I don't know. I'm just excited about the ESHL. It's just going to be. I think it's going to be back hopefully where it left off. And
right.
We don't miss a beat. Hopefully, it's not as buggy as this crap that we're playing now, where your skaters are just all over the place.
I think they could probably come out with information, with some teasers and stuff, a little more often than they do. The only reason I say that is the 3 major EA sports games are obviously Madden, FIFA, and for me, NHL. I don't think NBA Live is quite there yet.
It's not, but it's getting there.
The UFC game is not quite there as well, but most sports fans look for those 3 games, and the FIFA and the Madden, they're constantly coming out not only with information but with teasers, that kind of stuff. Now granted, FIFA comes out and Madden comes out before NHL, but if you look at the amount of information that you have for all 3 of those games right now, they by far have more information. I think the NHL information, as far as teasers and write-ups and stuff that we get from EA Vancouver, is not really. I mean, what do we? In years past, we've gotten a demo like a week before the game comes out. Now Madden, you're going to get it the very beginning of August, and the game comes out almost the end of August. It might even come out the end of July, and we'll get a demo for Madden. Mm-hmm. And the NHL just for whatever reason, if they're going to give you the reasoning is they're concentrating on making the game as good as it can be, and they're going to give you that kind of, I wouldn't say excuse, but if they're going to tell you that, then you expect the game to at least meet everybody's expectations. I don't know. Maybe the NHL community, as far as gamers goes, is we always expect way more than what we're going to get. I think that's probably some of it as well. So, yeah, we'll see. Like I said, they're doing a real good job of doing their Q&A stuff on their website right now, answering questions. I wish they would use Periscope, and maybe, I know Sean Ramjansing has done one small Periscope. I didn't get to see it because I didn't watch it in time, and I don't know if he did it showing stuff from NHL or if he was just doing it for personal use. But using things like that, like Periscope and Snapchat, as much as possible to just show us some gameplay footage, or the guy sitting around testing the game, or talking about some of the game modes. Obviously, people are interested in HUT. People are interested in GM Connected. People are interested in the no couch co-op mode. Obviously, ESHL, all that stuff. I think they could do it more often than what they do, but it should start to pick up.
GM mode's amazing for me, at least, because I'm a Flyers fan, and I like to play as the Flyers and have them win cups.
Well, all right. I guess we'll wrap this one up for our first episode, talking a lot about the ESHL, and we'll reach out to anybody that wants to come on and join us and talk.
It was a good time.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll try to do one.
Why don't you introduce yourself, who you are, what you do there, Keith?
PSN, obviously. Weezer, everybody out there knows it.
The infamous Dirty Wheeze.
One of the most elite players.
Invented the Weezer rap?
Yeah, the Weezer wraparound. Coin phrases is I'm the only Icon 4 player in the game. Mm-hmm. That's true. And even though I had to turn it down, I know they got Patrick Kane and Jonathan Taves. I was also supposed to be the cover athlete this year.
Oh, yeah?
As well. but they didn't do a voting system. And since
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have voted for you.
all right, and Riverdale Stomp, Nick Hirschman there as well.
It's me.
We've been playing hockey a long time.
Yeah, since 2009 or the end of 2008, maybe something like that.
Yeah, a lot of the guys. I won't mention them by name till we have them on the show. But I've been playing with the same guys for 7 years now.
Yep, it's been a long time. That's why I enjoy doing this.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we're gonna get off here and go play some hockey, and we'll catch up.
We're gonna try. Try some OTP.
Let me figure out. Let's see what I can get for hockey music to send us out. Let's see. The
whole rad aspect was pretty good. How about Break the Ice?
Let me see. Is this on here? What did you say?
Break the Ice.
The same one that I was playing?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Or Send Me an Angel, but that's kind of not. That's really not hockey. That's just.
All right, we'll send it out with Break the Ice.
That's a great intro and outro.
And outro both.
Now people can vote on this because we're a lot older, and we're coming back to our youth. This movie came out in 1986, and these kids weren't even a thought yet in their. Well, I'm not even going to say anything. I'm thinking something that I probably shouldn't say.
All right, we're going to get out of here, guys. We'll talk to you. We'll see you in OTP or club games, and join us next time. We're out of here.
Goodbye.